Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are continuing our testing of the epic artillery plotting room mods on our American battleships. Now, yesterday I showed you guys the Georgia. The day before that we had the Alabama, but it didn't have the epic artillery mod. It just had the regular artillery mod. So you know what to expect out of the Alabama. But do you really? Now, we know that my Alabama is a dispersion build. If you're going to play the Alabama, I feel like you kind of have to go for accuracy because the whole purpose of the Alabama is its pinpoint precision. It's ridiculous accuracy. Some might say, well, that's why I go with a different build because it's accurate enough. But I have a Massachusetts for that. I have a Massachusetts that's accurate enough, but it has secondaries, and we go with the brawler sort of setup for my Massachusetts. But Alabama is a sniper. It is I'm going to catch you off guard, and I'm going to absolutely murder your face hole. That's what the Alabama is. Don't get it twisted. Just because this thing only has 9 45 caliber 16-inch guns and doesn't have super heavy armor piercing like the Iowas, don't get it twisted. All that means is that the Alabama is not going to overpin your dumb little cruisers, okay? This thing will just nuke you, so be careful. Alabama has been and always will be one of the premier citadeling battleships in the game. I know that's a lot of throwing accusations out there, but I just watch any of my videos in the Alabama. You might go, well, Spartan, come on. You haven't played the Alabama in a long time, and now all of a sudden you've pulled it out of the dust, out of the mothball fleet, and you brought it back out, and you're like, holy crap, this thing's ridiculous. You're right. There's a reason that I haven't played it a lot. It's because it's so god-darn good. There are times where I just like, okay, this thing's a little too good. Speaking of, remember what I said about, cruisers? Here we go. First shot, mines, CE. Angled, but not enough. Over-angled, some would say. Through the bow side plating, blammo. Only 2 hits, one of them is a Citadel. On a mines. He's lucky he got into reverse, otherwise he'd be on his way back to port already. If he'd have stayed there just a little bit longer, that man is on his way back to port. But you guys will notice that I don't like to sit here and let everybody, shoot at me. When I spawn on this side of the map, I like to move forward, get into these gaps, and start looking at crossfire opportunities. One of the reasons, especially from this side, is that I don't like sitting here and letting the enemy team get behind that island where that Massachusetts is and just rain fire on me, which is what tends to happen. Thank God the Cleveland, or I think it's Cleveland, whatever it is, whatever the American cruiser is and the mines, thank God they're just sitting in the open water and letting people shoot them. Because they have an island there. They could have gotten behind that island. But we've gotten ourselves into a bit of a crossfire. Now, this is dangerous. We know there's a destroyer here. There's only one in the lobby. He's on my right. So we got to keep that in mind. We know there's a Massachusetts there. We know that there's a Zeton close, even though he's lower health. We know that there's a couple cruisers. We know that there's a Georgia directly across from us, right? So there's a lot of potential shells coming our way. We got to be careful, especially with the torpedoes coming through the gap to my right. So one of the things that I want to do is limit who can shoot me, limit who can engage me, right? So we're going to move forward. We're going to use the island to my right as a bit of a shelter from the people on the right who can attack me, but also try to limit who can shoot me. Now, obviously, you see the Cleveland out here. That is not ideal. This Cleveland being an open water right here, he's going to focus me 9 times out of 10, right? So we beach on the island. There's the shells that overshoot us. Kind of had a feeling those guys at the end of the island would be trying to shoot us. We take the shot at the Cleveland, and I'm very aware that there's a Z-23 in a perfect position to counter me with torpedoes. But you can see we absolutely smashed that Cleveland. Again, showcasing you're not overpinning. We didn't Citadel him, unfortunately, but we still got 2 full penetrations, 2 overpins, right? It's a pretty solid result. Took a third of his health. Now the Massachusetts behind me is starting to be a problem. So now I have no choice. I have to start to move forward. I need to limit who can shoot me. I can't just sit here and let the Cleveland shoot me, the Georgia shoot me, the Massachusetts shoot me, the torpedoes potentially come for me. I can't sit here and let that happen. Unfortunately, we get absolutely screwed with RNG. I don't even think that shell hit us. I think it was a freaking, like, oh my god, there's a constellation hiding back there in the back of the map. You have got to be kidding me. That's not ideal, and he's in a perfect position for a crossfire here too. I have no choice but to respect that Constellation's accuracy, so I have to go bow in here. Now, I'm in a position where I can kind of angle against him and the Georgia, but the problem is, it doesn't do me any good to angle against a Cleveland. He's going to use that island, and he's going to burn us down. There's nothing I can do about that. So I'm going to be forced to turn out here. I know that I'm going to take hits from this freaking Constellation. I'm hoping that I can get turned out here. Georgia just fired his guns at somebody else, so now we're going to take this opportunity to try to get turned away and start to kite away. We've gotten ourselves into a bit of a pickle. Now it's time to try to get out of that pickle, right? While everybody's distracted, now's our chance. Unfortunately, this Constellation is actually going to play a pretty solid game from that position. He's maintaining a position where he limits who can shoot him, and he's taking targets of opportunity, namely me. But you can see Cleveland, once again, going forward. We know he's going to try to get behind that island, so we lead him behind the island. George is there. We still have a Massachusetts or Zeton on my right that we're going to have to pay attention to. There, we finally get the Citadel, and we absolutely neuter that Cleveland. Again, showcasing that this Bama does not overpin cruisers like most battleships. Those 45 caliber guns mean the shells are traveling slower. It runs a heavy armor piercing, but not super heavy armor piercing. So the shells tend to penetrate the Citadel and detonate, rather than over-penetrate the Citadel on most of those cruisers. Now here, obviously the last thing I want to do here is go broadside to a Georgia. But he's still firing his guns at somebody else, so now's my chance to get turned in if I can. I'm still a little bit leery of that freaking Constellation, and you can see once again he puts his shells right where they need to be and does a significant amount of damage. And almost gets us again if I hadn't turned out there. So here we're going to try to target the Georgia, get rid of this little guy. Shooting at the superstructure, we know Americans and Germans have that increased superstructure hit points, so smash his superstructure. He gets immediately finished by the Zeton. Now, unfortunately, he craps out a plane. Fortunately, it's a spotter plane, but unfortunately, he craps out a plane right as he dies, so now that kept us spotted for a moment, but now we're finally dark. So we start to turn in. Unfortunately, the Massachusetts is the one that's all the way at the end, and then the Zeton is the one to my right. So we knew these guys were out here, just didn't know who was where. So fortunately, Zeton goes down, so that helps us. We can bow into these guys. We absolutely pummel that Massachusetts, showcasing the absolute beauty that is the Alabama. But he, in his own defense, he comes back and smacks me right in the mouth too, leaving us with very little hit points. But we got one more heal left. We currently have 7,000 hit points. As long as nothing crazy happens, we should be able to survive here. We're not spotted, so as long as we don't keep shooting our guns right now, we're going to be okay. Unfortunately, Salem comes around the corner and says, "Hello, Sunshine." And I'm like, "Hello, Clarice." Your broadside, Sunshine. Oh, and somebody blaps him, and then, of course, Alabama does what Alabama does and finishes him off. Confederate high cal, another Citadel. That gives us 3 on the game. So getting rid of a DPM cruiser is huge in this situation, right? But as you can see, we're still detected. Now we're within line of sight detection for the Massachusetts. So fortunately, we did get the heal off. We're back over 13,000 hit points. Massachusetts is absolutely begging for it, but you'll notice he started to turn towards us a little bit. We're still trying to zigzag, trying to get these shells off as much as we can. We get a beautiful shot into the middle section of the ship. He doesn't lead us quite enough. Fortunately, Constellation's starting to miss. A little bit of bad RNG for him, but he's had pretty good RNG up to this point. Now, if I could do anything differently here, I would have gotten into the cap a little bit sooner. But, you know, it's one of those situations where I've been so focused on trying to survive that I was, like, hesitant on what I was doing here. But we are going to get another shot at this Massachusetts, and of course we do finish him off. That takes us up to 3 kills and 166,000 damage. But now that we have nobody left, there's a destroyer on the right side, he can't spot us. The Constellation's behind the island, he can't spot us. So now we get to move in, control the cap. Remember, play for the win, guys. Everybody wants damage, nobody wants everybody wants wins, but nobody wants to do the dirty work. Do not hesitate to get into the cap when you can, guys. It doesn't matter what ship you're in, get into a cap, try to capture those bases, guarantee the wins. Our team manages to take out the destroyer. That leaves just a very healthy Constellation on the backside of the island. Now, obviously, he's alone. He can't really do much from there. He has to come out, one way or the other, right? So we're going to force him out. That's our goal. But now we have the assist cap. That's going to give us some extra XP. Capping bases is one of the best ways to earn XP in World of Warships Legends. Capturing bases, killing destroyers. So keep that in mind. If you can kill destroyers, if you can capture bases, you're going to get more XP. Now here, I was very aware of the window here. I didn't think the Constellation was going to be able to squeeze shells through there. But in his defense, he does manage it. And fortunately for us, he just swings and misses. But I honestly, at the range that we were, I knew he couldn't shoot through the big gap in the hole. I didn't think he could get the shells through that little gap. Clearly, I was wrong. But now, I know the Constellation has torpedoes. I know those torpedoes have very good torpedo angles and 9 kilometers or 9.2 kilometers range. I'm also aware that I'm very low health and I'm a very easy finish for this Constellation. So I am going to try to bait him to come to me. I don't want to go to him if I don't have to. We're going to use the island to mask our approach. He can't shoot us. He can't torp us. He has to come around and commit. We have plenty of backup behind us who should have better angles than I do at being able to finish or put damage downrange. And as you can see, they're putting some decent shots. That one wasn't very good, but the shots before and some of these shots coming in shortly will be much better. That one in particular was solid. This one is going to be pretty solid. Everybody's doing pretty well here. Now, obviously, again, I am very aware that there are torpedoes, but at this point, I'm thinking, okay, we might be able to wrap it up with a 4th kill. I know I overmatched Constellation, so if I can get around the corner, I can just punch straight through his bow and kill him. That's my goal. Preferably before the torpedoes get there. Funny thing is, he puts up a plane, and he ends up torping. And he doesn't torp for the cruiser, he doesn't torp for the other battleships, he torps for me. And watch this shot coming around the corner. Perfect example. You see those torpedoes hitting the island, a couple of them getting through, probably would have killed me, but fortunately he doesn't live long enough for that to happen. 166,000, 3K base, top of the leaderboard, high caliber, Dreadnought, Confederate, and a Dev Strike. Let me know what you guys think. Are you using the Epic mods? I'm loving them so far, and if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.